Hello, Chino Valley Schools community. For those that don't know, I am John Scholl, the Chino Valley Schools Superintendent. I have some important news to share with you. Students in Chino Valley Schools have been meeting with teachers this week using Google Meet. So I thought it would be a great opportunity to try out my Google Meet skills. I'm using Google Meet to record this video, even though you are watching it on YouTube. So today is Thursday, August 13th, and this morning, the Arizona Department of Health Services released the latest benchmark data. The benchmark data is intended to help guide governing boards in their decision when to open schools. So based on the data that came out this morning, I will be making a recommendation to the governing board at a special board meeting this Tuesday, August 18th at 5 o'clock to schedule the beginning of hybrid instruction, and I'll describe what hybrid instruction is, the day after Labor Day, Tuesday, September 8th, and to schedule the beginning of in-person instruction on the day after fall break, which is Monday, October 19th. This would be contingent on the benchmark data continuing to decrease as it has been and being in the ranges that I will explain in a little bit. You are welcome to come and speak to the board at the board meeting, but due to the size of the room and social distancing requirements, the number of people may be limited, and we may ask you to leave the meeting room once you have spoken. The meeting will be streamed live on YouTube, and you can connect to the live stream at the district website, www.chinovalleyschools.com, and a link will also be provided on Facebook. I want to share with you where the data is coming from and give you a little more information on what it means for the district. So I'm going to share my desktop with you, so please be patient with me as I do that. Again, these are things that the teachers are doing. So the first thing is that I'm going to go to the Arizona Department of Health Services website, and that is azdhs.gov, Arizona Department of Health Services.gov. This is the State Department website, Department of Health Services. I'm going to go down to where it says schools and universities, and I'm going to click on that. And there's all kinds of information on here that you can look at, but actually I'm going to go down to the state map, and you can see on the right-hand side are the benchmarks for the state as a whole. And I'm not concerned too much what the state is doing. I'm more concerned about what's going on in Yavapai County. So if you click on the Yavapai County, the shape of Yavapai County, it'll give you the Yavapai County data. And so I don't know why, but it's cutting off some of the data. But you can see that for the first benchmark, and we'll go over the benchmarks, which is the number of cases, it is met in both that it's below 100 cases per 100,000 population. And just for your information, there's about 240,000 residents in Yavapai County. It also is has been decreasing for 2 weeks, which is another thing that makes it positive. The percent positivity, which is the percent of PCR tests, which are the nasal swabs, are below 7% for 2 weeks. That's what would make it met. We were almost below 7% last week, and we are now below 7% this week. We expect to be below 7% next week. And so we should be meeting that benchmark next week. And the last one is COVID-like illnesses. And we need to be below 10%. And we have been below 10% for a long time. And so to look at historical data, you just need to scroll over the different weeks, and you can get the various data. And the other thing I want to mention is that this is data for July 26th. The latest data that we get is actually 12 days lagging. So we have July 26th is the latest data that we have, and the next data that we get will actually be on for the week of August 2nd. And so that week will be the data from August 2nd will be coming out next Thursday sometime. So there's actually two other things that I want to show you on this page, and we'll go over the benchmarks in a little bit more detail in just a little bit. We have school benchmarks by Arizona County, and you can see that out of all the counties, there's 4 counties that don't meet the cases. All the cases, all the counties for COVID-like illnesses meet the benchmark. I do want to mention for COVID-like illnesses, they do group the counties into regions, and we are in the northern region, and we are grouped with Coconino, Apache, and Navajo counties. There are no counties that meet the benchmark for percent positivity. And there are some of these, for example, Yavapai has one of the 2 weeks required, at least we're below 7. There are some of the counties that aren't even close and have, say, 15% positivity. There's one that's close to 20% positivity right now. So we are pretty lucky in Yavapai County to be where we're at. And the other document that I want to show you is actually the safely returning to in-person instruction. They explain what the data means, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of the pages from this. I'll be sharing with you later, but it goes over what the data is and what it actually means. And so I want to I recommend that you take a look at those if you have more interest in that. So I also have a quick presentation that I want to share with you. So I'm going to get to that point. I'm going to start here. So we have the benchmarks, and this is a document. This is a page from that last document I was talking about, which is the safely returning to in-person instruction. Talks a little bit about risk levels. There's minimal risk level, moderate risk level, and substantial risk level. And each of those is determined by the benchmarks and ranges in each benchmark. So this is, for example, cases. The cases is the number of cases per 100,000 population. Again, Yavapai County is about 240,000 people. And so right now we are in the moderate range between 10 and 100 cases per 100,000. You're over 100, you're in the substantial risk. If you're below 100, you're in minimal risk. The percent positivity, we had our first week of 7%. The moderate range is 5 to 10%, but the recommendation is you don't go into hybrid instruction until you have 2 weeks of below 7, and we expect that to happen next week. And so the moderate is 5 to 10%, over 10 is substantial risk, and minimal risk is less than 5. COVID-like illness is the same percentages, moderate at 5 to 10, which is where we're at now, substantial is greater than 10, and minimal is less than 5. So what do those risks mean? So if we were in substantial risk, which is where we were at, and we're transitioning to moderate risk, we should be in at-home instruction. That's what the benchmark recommendations from the state are. That's what we're doing. We are getting ready to move into moderate risk, which is hybrid instruction, and I'll talk about what that is. And that's why I want to make the recommendation at the board meeting that we go into hybrid instruction. It does take some time to plan. There's going to be some schedule changes. There's going to be some other things. And so that is not something we can do overnight. And so we want to pick a date out there for that. And then minimal risk, when all of the benchmarks are in the minimal risk range, that's when we should be going into in-person instruction. So I am a data person and a number cruncher, and so I love that. And so this is a spreadsheet I put together that I wanted to share with you of what the historical data has been and where we're at now. And I actually put this together this morning, and since this morning, some of the data has been tweaked slightly, and so I want to warn you that there may be some numbers that are slightly different. I think, for example, the percent positivity latest is actually 6.4 is what the website says. I will be updating that. But on the spreadsheet, the colors are correct. So anywhere where there's a red, that indicates substantial risk. Anywhere where there's a yellow indicates moderate risk. And there are no places that are green, but that would indicate minimal risk. And we should be getting there shortly. And so for cases, the latest number is 45 cases per 100,000. That puts us at the moderate risk, and that would indicate going to hybrid instruction. For percent positivity, we are at 6.6, our first week less than 7, and we expect to be less than 7 next week, which would indicate the moderate risk in hybrid instruction. And for our COVID-like illnesses, we've never been out of the moderate risk, and we are approaching the minimal risk there, actually. And so that would indicate right now the hybrid instruction. So we anticipate to have all three in the moderate risk or below next week. Hybrid instruction. What the heck is hybrid instruction? So hybrid instruction is where students will be assigned to attend school either on Monday and Wednesday or Tuesday and Thursday. And when the students are not at school, they would be working online like they are now. Now, our goal here is that families would be scheduled on the same day. And so if you have a child at Territorial and then another one at Heritage, another one at the high school, all three kids would be scheduled on the same day. So that is our commitment to families. Also, there undoubtedly are going to be families that feel like they still don't want to take the risk with their kids for a variety of reasons, and that's a family decision. Because of that, they will continue to have the option to keep their student on at-home learning. And if you choose that option, that will be something that can change at the end of each quarter. So if you choose to keep your child on at-home learning without and not the hybrid instruction, that would be something that you could change your mind in October before we start the the second quarter. If you chose to keep them on at the second quarter, you would have the option to make that change in December for beginning in January. So we are going to ask that asking for at-home learning, that's going to be on a quarter-by-quarter basis. Based on our survey that was given in end of June, beginning of July, we think about 30% of families will keep their students online. With some students still on at-home learning and splitting up classes otherwise to Monday, Wednesday, and Tuesday and Thursday, class sizes would average about 35% of normal. And this we feel like is good numbers and would be able to socially distance and be safe in classrooms. And principals will be working with staff on what hybrid instruction will look like in their buildings. I guarantee hybrid instruction at Territorial is going to be different than hybrid instruction at the high school, just because of the nature of the type of instruction. But that information will be shared with families as soon as it is determined. And this is one of the reasons why it will take a little bit of time in order to get hybrid instruction going. The September 8th date, because it just is not something that can be done overnight. This is another page from that document that I shared with you earlier. And so what does instruction look like? What does hybrid instruction look like other than the actual instruction? And so some of the things that we will be doing with hybrid instruction are focusing on hand hygiene, washing hands, respiratory etiquette, making sure that kids are coughing into their arm, things like that. We'll have enhanced cleaning by our custodial staff, making sure our buildings and buses have proper ventilation, keep windows open when possible, making sure fans are going. We're going to monitor absenteeism. We are going to symptom screen, which means that kids will have their temperature taken. We're going to be physical distancing, ensuring that kids are staying 6 feet apart as much as possible. We're going to have cloth face coverings or some other kind of coverings that will be required unless a medical exemption is provided. We are going to have cohorting, which means kids will stay in groups of kids so that there's less mixing. If there's a case that pops up, that's fewer kids that would be exposed. That's when possible. In some cases, it may not be. Field trips and large gatherings like assemblies would not be allowed until we hit the minimal risk. And then lastly, communal spaces, places where kids would normally gather. We're going to make sure that those are closed or at least monitored so kids aren't gathering in those particular spaces. So this is what, when we hit the minimal risk, which would be traditional in-person instruction, we still want to focus on hand hygiene and respiratory etiquette, enhanced cleaning, proper ventilation, and monitor absenteeism. For those that were in the district or actually in the area last fall, the entire area got hit hard with the flu. We're hoping that continuing these things would help us when flu season comes, which is undoubtedly going to happen. Typically, last year it was November and December. So hopefully our flu season will not be as bad as last year if we follow these guidelines. So I'm actually going to get out of here for just a second. All right. So I want to thank our staff and the community. You know, this is the first day of week, which is always our first week of school, which is always chaotic, just a little bit of different chaos. Parents have stepped up, kids have stepped up, our staff has stepped up. So I want to thank everybody for a great job this week. And again, I'll be making a recommendation at the board meeting on Tuesday at 5 o'clock to start hybrid instruction on September 8th and in-person instruction on October 18th, the Monday after fall break. I look forward to a great school year, and we'll be making those transitions. Please bear with us, and we'll be keeping you informed the best that we can. So thank you very much. If you have questions, please reach out to me. The best way is email at superintendent@ChinoValleySchools.com. Have a great weekend and have a great school year.